How's it going, everyone? It's Ken and Brad here. And because Final Fantasy XVI is releasing on June 22nd, we have decided to do two things. The first is we're doing a giveaway, free one, for 2 copies of Final Fantasy XVI. So all you have to do is like this video, subscribe to the channel, and then comment on where we got the rankings wrong. And we already kind of know where it's going to go. So second thing we're doing, obviously, is this tier list. So I asked Brad, who's a massive Final Fantasy fan, to join me in ranking the main series and some spin-offs. Now you're going to not see things like, Chocobo Dungeon, that type of thing. Like, we saw some of the crazier tier lists that had like 40 to 50 things on it. We're like, dude, we ain't doing all that. So it's just going to be like, we're trying to limit it, right? It's not going to be too long. So Brad, are you ready to rank these Final Fantasy games and upset the absolute hell out of people?
I mean, just threw everything on S and then put Dirge of Cerberus on S+.
on S+. So my opinion, S+ is the elite Final Fantasy game, stuff that we would consider like top 5, top 3, whatever. Okay. And Dirge of Cerberus is just, there's in its category of its own. How you want to interpret that, you do what you will, but that's just how we see it. Okay. Final Fantasy I, the one that started off. Brad, give me your grade on this.
That's a tough one. Looking back, playing it fairly recently, it's a good game. It doesn't really age well with progression. It does not age well with the progression of the series.
True. It did not. It's a nice primer, but remember, I think like for the United States, didn't like Final Fantasy IV, which was Final Fantasy II, it hit the stateside first, right? I think like Cecil and Kane and them. Right. So I'm gonna give, as like just a primer, I'm gonna give this one a B, right? I think that would be fair. Right.
The core, I mean, it was what started as core mechanic. There really wasn't a whole lot of story.
No.
But you had the basic classes, the basic kind of. You don't have Sid. I will not get. I didn't have Sid. I'll not get that one.
All right.
So why doesn't get an A?
All right. Final Fantasy II.
Actually, wasn't a big fan of 2.
No, really.
I did like the leveling, like the class leveling system a little bit better than 1. It was different. It was more like a like a Elder Scrolls type leveling. Like each character had their own levels on each class.
Right.
It was different, but it got. I really didn't like the fact that the Ultima magic was dependent on your levels for everything. So like the Ultima magic was like super anticlimactic if you haven't like maxed out all the other levels, because it was all like your total levels of all your classes. I did like the warrior light dude, whatever the main, like the main avatar for the
warrior light. Yeah, looks good.
Yeah, he looked cool.
What are we sitting at? We were thinking. You don't sound confident for an A or an S, so we're looking what, B?
Yeah, I'll go with B again.
All right, I'll go for B as well.
The early ones are difficult because, like comparatively to like where obviously where the series goes, it's like, it's they don't age well. Like the first,
I think the Pixel remasters I think are nice to play if you want to get into the history of Final Fantasy, but a lot of them are not as good as others. Final Fantasy III. Ooh,
I did play the 3D version of this one.
You did.
I would actually probably put this in the C category.
Yeah, I was not a huge fan of this game.
Maybe even a D. Like out of the series, it might be my least favorite out of the main.
I have the main continuity. That's your least favorite.
Yeah,
wow.
Maybe. I mean, that's a tough.
I was gonna be nice and give it a C. I was not a fan of the game. I wasn't. Yeah. It's just nothing stuck with me at all.
Right. There was no. I mean, there was a conflict, but like none of the characters, they were just like orphans and they just grouped up and like went off on adventures together. Sid was thrown in there. I mean,
Sid. We got a Sid, but listen. C is for Sids, and that's where that's one going. Final Fantasy IV. I'll talk about this one for a second. I love this game. This is one of my favorite Final Fantasies of all time. My uncle bought me this game when it came out, when it was originally Final Fantasy II in the United States. I played the shit out of this. I played it again. I love the entire story of like Cecil going from like this Dark Knight to a Paladin. I love almost all the characters. I was a huge fan of Kain. I think Kain was like the reason I got into Final Fantasy because he was the Dragoon, and that was just he looked so badass in like everything he did. I liked it a lot. It's an S for me. But where is it for you?
I agree. S is probably where I would sit for. That was the first iconic storyline, right?
Yes.
Between Cecil and Kain, there's a lot of plot twists.
Yeah, it was very deep for a game that came out in like the early 90s. And on top of that, they had like a really dramatic moment where the twins, right? They had to turn into stone pillars and shit. I was like, oh my God, what the fuck? My dad was like, are they dead? And I was like, I guess, man, I don't know. I'm a little too young for this, man.
But then they tried to do the after years, man. That just
I don't.
Out of all of the Final Fantasy games, like if there was something below Dirge of Cerberus,
I did not include the after years because that was a cash grab. No. I don't care what anyone says. That was not good.
It was rough. It was very rough.
Okay.
If you like grinding from level 1 like 8 different times, then go right ahead.
If you want to see someone miserable, just look up a VOD on Brad's channel. He looks incredibly sad playing those games. Okay, Final Fantasy V. You and I talked about this. I think we weren't super fans of this game. We did kind of like how dark the narrative got, right? Like where they pretty much killed everyone.
So with 5, it's actually the one mainline story that I haven't finished.
Really?
It's the one game that I haven't. I am playing this on my stream right now, so I do know a lot of the story. I do like the dimension hopping, and
yes, that is pretty cool.
Super weird that the bad guy's name is just X-Death. I always thought that was just like a funny name for a bad guy. It's like I felt like it was
like a random villain name. Like X-Death appears.
Well, I felt like it was like a translation thing. Like I feel like the Japanese version. I don't know what the Japanese what the word is. I'm assuming it's X-Death. I don't know, but I'm assuming there was a translation, and they're just like it just means X-Death, and that's what he is in English.
I'm sitting at a B. I don't know what you want.
I do like the class system in it.
Right, the class system is good. Correct.
Let's see. We put 1 and 2 on B.
Yeah, 1 and 2 on B, 3 on C, and 4 on S.
I might give this one an A.
You want to give it an A? Okay, you know what? We'll be generous. We'll give this our first A. Final Fantasy VI, almost immediately, S+. It is what has defined the pixel art Final Fantasies. If you have not played it, I really recommend you do. They're not connected practically in any way. Final Fantasy VI probably has one of the best narratives, has some of the best characters, has some of the best. I think I love the combat, and it's just like, I mean, you can suplex a fucking train, guys. Like, what do you want? You know, I could suplex a phantom train. I'm massive fan of this game.
Yeah, I think it's one of the strongest stories. It's where Final Fantasy kind of decided to, hey, we're going to have defined stories. We're going to have defined characters. Each character is going to have their own thing, like specifically for them, right? The monk's the monk, the thief's the thief, the samurai's the samurai, or the ninja's the ninja, whatever.
All that stuff, yeah. Also,
and the fact that you actually lose like halfway through the game, like they're just like the world is destroyed. It's also, like, okay, cool.
I know people have like a lot of love for Sephiroth, but I am probably the biggest Kefka fan. I think he's the best villain in the entire series. Like that dude is a fucking. And he didn't just like talk shit. He was talking shit and doing it. Right? Take lessons, fucking Seymour from Final Fantasy X. We're coming for your ass.
Like he was just a suicidal clown. He was just, he's like, I have no reason to do this. I'm just doing it.
He just did it, and he was successful. And it blew my mind as a kid that was happening, because like I think like isn't like the first place you go to you find Sid and he's dying. I'm like, they killed off like a main character of like a main recognizable character in the series. That shit as a kid, that was traumatizing. that was deep.
Like you go to the sandcastle place and like everyone's dead because he poisoned the water supply.
Exactly.
I'm like, my God.
Man. Immediate S+. Like top 3 Final Fantasy in my opinion. Love that game. Final Fantasy VII. First game on PlayStation 1. Humongous, like we all know it's a cultural phenomenon. It still has like its roots today. Probably one of the best, like, in my opinion, Final Fantasy games, JRPGs of all time. if you have not played the classic. If you've played only the remake, I can recommend you go back and play the classic. Brad, you were playing with mods recently, right? You were testing out with the reskin mods. So give me your thoughts on 7. Where should it be, honestly? Because I'm going S+ for me.
Have we put anything on D yet?
No, dude. Get the fuck out of here.
Just we gotta get some momentum in this. No, 7's super strong. I mean, it's probably the most iconic characters in JRPG history. I do like the story. It's not one of my favorite stories. There's a lot of good characters. I really like Red 13 and Vincent, obviously.
Everyone loves Vincent. They did him dirty, though.
Yeah, they did. They did.
He gets his own category for a reason.
Yeah. There is a reason why it's one of the first ones to get a remake. So, yeah, I do have to give it an S+.
Flopping that S+, baby. Final Fantasy VIII. So first off, they do have the best looking guy in Final Fantasy VIII, right? Squall, clearly.
18 pixel face. Oh yeah.
I don't, honestly, I'm gonna be real. Like I liked 8. I didn't love 8. I think it's probably its biggest problem is that it was the level scaling where like everything kind of scaled with you, so there's no reason to grind in that game. I also thought some of the characters were okay. I did love the summons, however. Like the twins are my favorite. Them attacking each other and suplexing everyone is the dumbest shit I've ever seen. But what'd you think of 8?
So 8 was the first one that I actually really got into. It was the first one that I kind of I played 7 with my dad, but it was like as I was learning to read type deal. So it was like I didn't really fully understand because 7's kind of dark. I didn't really fully understand 7 when I first played through it with my dad.
You're just like Vincent looks cool. I want.
Yeah, well, I was like, dude, with machine gun hand, let's go. But with 8 was the first one that I was like this is legit. Like this is cool. Gunblade. Revolver, but a sword that you shoot people. I think 8 has some of the the best summons. Just a lot of the character models and animations with the summons to me are just top quality.
Very cool.
The junctioning system was borked from the beginning. There was just not a really good explanation, and the AP system with it. If it really wasn't for the combat, I would probably give this an S+. It's one of my favorite stories. Yeah. It's a little convoluted, but I love the dream sequences when you find out that they're actually connected.
What's the fan theory? Was the fan theory that Squall's been dead the entire time, or is he in a coma? Yeah, he's been dead the entire time. Right.
Because he starts and he's in the hospital room. Yeah. So I actually really like the story, but the combat really does drop it down.
Yeah,
a notch or two.
Just a notch. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a good follow up. It's a great follow up. Like this is where I feel like Final Fantasy was hitting its stride. All right, now to Final Fantasy IX.
Wait. Where are we ranking that one?
We're ranking Final Fantasy VIII's S. We'll put it in S.
Okay. Yeah.
So Final Fantasy IX.
That might make some. Might make some people.
That might make some people mad. Yeah. But Final Fantasy IX, immediate S+. Probably. Yes. I think you and I have talked about this before. It's probably our favorite Final Fantasy of all time. I think that it's like the gold standard for the game. Like the only thing I think we had an issue with, I think, was that the limit breaks were automatic. Right, that was it.
Yeah, the trances.
Yeah, the trances were automatic. That was really the only thing we had a problem with. But everything else,
they're still really cool. I actually really like the trances. They go Super Saiyan basically.
It features the single best character in all of Final Fantasy and VIII, who, in my opinion, is the one character where I feel like if we do get a remake, I am very and it's more likely going to happen. Right, we had the Nvidia leaks. We had people talking about how it's in development. I really want to see what advancements they make to the story, and I can't wait to see him voiced, because I can only imagine how fucking sad it's going to be when he has that realization that he only has a limited time to live.
If it's not Keith David, I don't want anyone.
If he doesn't have if he's not getting fucking philosophical on me, baby, I don't want to know it. But it was but it still holds up today. Very clean game. Fun cast. I love everyone, and I think I would say the way the villains go, it's kind of cartoonish, right?
Yeah.
He's always answering this. There's always a bigger fish. There's always that bigger fish that eats the other fish.
That's one. Like that. Yeah, that's one reason why I like the game, because it's so broad, and there's dark themes, but the game itself is not dark. It's especially compared to 7 and 8.
Oh,
right.
Lord.
8 was like very realistic feeling, right? Everything was very not realistic, but like the character models were very lifelike in
100%.
PlayStation 1 means, and then 9's very goofy in a way, like there's embellished and cartoony, and there was throwbacks to almost all the other Final Fantasies between bosses or summons.
And what was the fun fact you said in one of our podcasts? It was the first one developed by like Western studios, right? Like,
oh yeah. So most of the game was developed in Hawaii, so
that's
there
so
was
cool.
More communication between the Japanese and the
American
Western studio.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. And they created like one of the best games like of all time. Okay, jumping into a game that you and I have talked about in private that we feel, is a bit overhyped. And just as a reminder, this is our opinion, but it's Final Fantasy X, the first game for the PS2, first game I think that had voiceovers, right? We actually like Tidus, just pointing this out. We don't think Tidus is a bad character because we've seen like all the takes on him. We're like, dude, you would act the same way if everyone around you died.
if you thought you got stuck 1,000 years in the future, you knew nobody, I would also complain and whine the entire time.
And you found out that your dad just happened to be Sin, it's like, what am I supposed to do? I did not like the grid system in this game. I didn't at all. I hated fucking Seymour. I thought like the main villain, or that one of the main villains rather, was probably one of the worst in Final Fantasy. Just this whiny ass character.
He just dies randomly.
Oh my god, dude! Why? It was like unsatisfying too. And then I mean, I think the characters are pretty good, but like, nothing about this game really captivated me when I was younger. And I went back and played the HD remaster. So I've done it I played the game 3 times. And every time I was like, there's just stuff I was not a huge fan of. Like, it did have nice advancements in the combat.
Yeah.
But it was like the randomized combat where like you couldn't like escape certain times, and it was like, dude. And plus the way it was kind of annoying. The grind to get your ultimate weapons was not fun at all. I have this as a B. Like,
it was one of the last games that I had to buy a guide for.
A guide for? Oh.
A Prima guide, because there was one of the Callisto trials I just could not figure out.
Yeah.
I was just lost for days, just running around in circles. I actually really liked the combat. I liked the kind of utilization of all the characters all the time, and you could plan out your turns. Like, there was a turn order, and you could see it, and you could plan out. And I liked the involvement of all the characters. I liked a lot of the characters. Auron was just a cool dude.
Was like one of the coolest guys in Final Fantasy.
To me, the story was just stupid. I just did not care for the way that everything just turns out. It's just like, oh, he's like Auron's dead. Tidus is from this like mythical dreamland of people of their consciousness or whatever. And then at the end, he just fades off into the clouds with his dad. And I'm like, what? What?
Did you like the grid system? I did not like that system at all, man. I hated it. It was so convoluted, and so it didn't feel like you were getting enough like impact with it, as you were trying to build out and develop your character.
I liked it when I had the spheres to fill in the grid. If I ever had to skip a node that was like blank, it irked the living, because then like I would just wait until I had all the spheres, and then I would start filling in. I liked that kind of instant gratification of seeing like things being filled in, but once again, I do like the standard just leveling. Like, I do like I don't like having to choose how I build my character. I want the game to say this character's going to be this way, so just make him stronger.
Okay.
Because I would just throw attack for everything.
Where are you putting it? I have it as B.
B. I think B's fair.
I think B's fair.
Because Blitzball, B for Blitzball.
Yeah, B for Blitzball. There you go. People are gonna bitch about that one. All right. 10-2. What I generally regard at the time as like an unnecessary sequel. So before I like just look, I like the job system in this game. I really did. Yeah. I thought being able to change clothes and do all that stuff, that was really cool. I just was not at any point in time connected with the story. Like, and going back and doing all these things.
There was a story?
Yeah, I just felt, because here's the thing, it's crazy. There's like an audio novel, or like one of those like
a fan fiction thing.
It was like, I think it's official, like it's a companion thing that actually details what happened with Yuna and Tidus, and it was not good. Like, it's not a happy ending. But I had no connection with this game outside. The combat was still solid. I love the job system stuff. To me, this is a C. This is our second
Yeah.
C.
I don't think it was a bad game. It was kind of out of left field. You know, the whole like, I thought the intro was really cool with the whole like
the little concert they did.
Yeah, dude,
That was cool,
I thought it was cool. And then I played through it and I'm like, this is just a bunch of like little mini missions.
Yeah, it just felt like an add-on.
Like,
it's equivalent to what Final Fantasy 15 did with all the DLC.
Right,
Give me all them side stories. Okay,
and then the absolute like goofball of villains in that game, LeBlanc and her salt and pepper.
Oh my god,
characters. Like it just, I don't know.
Nothing stuck with me. Final Fantasy XI. So I played 11. Thought it was a really solid primer for what Final Fantasy 14 will become. I gave this a B. If you've never played Final Fantasy XI, the game is much harder than 14. Like much harder. Like it has a really. It was the. I thought it was the game that was kind of like we're gonna pretty much be a glimpse of what 12 is going to be in terms of combat,
right?
Which I really liked. But I gave it a B because I played a little bit of it. Really enjoyed it. What did you play 11?
I did not. Everyone told me not to.
Never told you not to? I gave that.
Well, because I didn't have internet around the time that 11 kind of came out. Like I didn't have. I actually bought the adapter for my PlayStation 2, but I didn't have internet connectivity on that half of the house, and I wasn't going to buy like a 200-foot, Ethernet cable to run through the entire house.
Back home in Alabama.
So I didn't play 11, and then when 14 came out, I was talking with a friend of mine, and he's like, "Oh, if you're going to play 14, just don't play 11." He's like, it's the only game where you can die and de-level.
Yes.
And I was like,
the game was fucking hard, man. It did not play around. All right, moving on. We gave Final Fantasy 11 a B. Final Fantasy 12. I have this as one of the most underrated Final Fantasies. I have this as an S. I loved the game when it came out. My beef is that I don't think Vaughn is an interesting character at all. We have Balthier, who, like, my opinion, should have been the main character because he was that dope pirate who was just flashy and badass. I love the combat in the game. Oh, go ahead.
I understand. I get it. Vaughn's.
The way his story panned out, though, I like, but I was not a big fan of him. Like early on, I was like,
I mean, so typically the main character is like a younger, like that got dealt the bad hand, and he grows out. I
did like was it Ash? That's her name, right?
Yeah,
I did like her. I love the warrior princess stuff. How determined she was as a character. I love the combat system. I love the fact that like battles weren't randomized, that you could actually, see them. I love the fact that it was open world, that you did have like gates that you could like, travel to, like to and from. Very expansive. It was huge. It was pretty much an MMO with just a single player mode, right? I think the only problem I probably had with the combat was that some of the bosses were fucking spongy and had like insane HP counts, which was like crazy because I was trying to do like a complete run through, and I was like, nah, dude. I'm not beating that boss with like over 1 million health. It's never gonna happen because I think it's like a 6-hour boss fight or longer than that, maybe.
I actually really like the combat with the gambit system. The licensing system. The licensing system was a little funky to me.
Little wonky, yeah.
But the gambit system, of the characters,
that's good. That was clean.
Before auto battle was a thing, you could like half auto battle some of the characters, and I basically just have all the casters just instantly cast every buff and debuff constantly, and I was just swinging away with my sword, right? I was just wailing on things, and that's how I played most of the game.
You can speed up, and I think in the Zodiac version,
where
it allows you like
4 times speed. 4 times speed.
It's fucking hilarious. I'm giving this an S. This is one of my most underrated titles.
12 was, that was a weird time in my teenage years where I was kind of confined. My mom moved in with a new boyfriend, so I was in a new house and didn't really care for him, etc. So I was just like,
had the emo haircut, just angsty.
Yeah, I was I was in my bedroom all day, every day, and like that was the game that I played for like over a year. Like I probably put 200 hours into that.
I really enjoyed 12. So let's talk about the PS3, right, where we've had our first Final Fantasy, which was like, this was massive. Because it was the first character, I think, who appeared on a magazine. They were heavily promoting her. And that is Lightning from Final Fantasy XIII. So, I'm going to say this. My my feelings on this game have softened. Like, I used to be very hard in this game. Like, I thought this was an awful Final Fantasy. I really did not like the linear battle or the linear corridors and stuff like that in the first 2/3 of the game, because for whatever reason it just opened up near the end. I was not a fan of a lot of the characters. Like, I liked Lightning. I did not like Snow too much because Snow was so damn melodramatic.
Snow was weird.
The game was very melodramatic. It really was. And I didn't like the fact that it ended on a cliffhanger. You know, I wasn't a fan of that. But when I was younger, when I first played this game, the combat system I was not a fan of at all because of how complex it was. And like what happened was that essentially you could try kind of breeze through the system because you could kind of interchange and switch, you know, whenever. But as you got to like, there's a certain part of the game where you're fighting like pretty much that wall, and he has like a shifting head or whatever. That was like a wall for everyone. It was like, now you should have paid attention in how you played, because if you didn't, you were gonna die. So I went and watched the speed run because of Brad, and then I replayed the game, and I was like, you know what? This game's pretty good. Now, is it like elite top tier Final Fantasy? I don't think so, but the music's fantastic. The combat system is actually really good once you like start to read into it to understand like how things work. Love the visuals. Like it still looks good today. This game still looks fantastic. But I still like, it's just the way the characters work. It ends on that cliffhanger. To me, this is a B. I usually had this at like a C. You know, I had this at a C for me. I don't know where you have it.
Yeah. So I do think 13 gets a little bit more flack than it should. I do think to me it looks awesome. Like,
oh, just still does.
Like visually, it's just, I'm not gonna say it's one of my favorite, but visually it's very colorful, very dramatic. I do like some of the characters. Zaz was really cool.
Yeah, Zaz is dope because he got a little chocobo in his hair. You know.
To me the combat was the thing. I felt like it was more management than like strategy.
Yeah, but I just loved when like things paid off in that game.
Yeah, I mean it. I actually hit a wall, and it wasn't the wall. I hit a wall when it was the Shiva fight, when it's the one-on-one with Snow, and you're supposed to do the defense thing, and you build up the meter and stuff like that. Yeah, dude, that was I probably did that fight 9-10 times before I figured it out. I was like, I would wail on it, and then I would just instantly die, and then like I would just block, and then I'd instantly die, and I'm like, what the crap? Like, you're supposed to like go back and forth. Dude, that was just the most infuriating thing. It took me forever to figure that. I would personally probably put it at C.
At C.
Yeah.
Should have put like I wanted to put like a C plus category, but you know what? Yeah. I mean, we'll give it a C. We'll give it a C because you know damn well 13.2 and 13.3 are not going in the C category. Look, I think 13.2 is better than 13.3. We're gonna lump them in together.
Is 3 the one that the Pokemon type? Is it the one where you capture or you?
It's kind of.
I played one of them and didn't play the other one.
I think 13.2 was right. 13. Like Lightning Returns, I did not like at all. Like both of them kind of felt unnecessary, and Lightning is barely in 13.2. She's literally like, I think in like the last part of the game, and I was like, okay, so we're just playing like in a new, you know, I get it, you know, you're trying to, you know, you're trying to bank on 13, which was, you know, sold really well, but I didn't feel like at any point in time when I was enjoying myself. I was like, why does this exist? Like, what are we doing here? We're gonna put that in the D category. And Lightning, your Lightning Returns, you're going to D as well. I just, dude, I was like, I don't know why this happened. I tried to give it a shot, and I was like, nah, we're good.
I mean, I do plan to play both of them. I played a little bit of the
13.2,
yeah, I did play a little bit of it. I it just kind of fell to the wayside. Lightning Return, I bought it, but that's as far as I got.
All right, Final Fantasy XIV, we're going to talk the whole thing. So I'm going to give this an S, and here's the reason why. All of the expansions, with the exception of Stormbreaker, are great. Stormbreaker is the one expansion that I think that it was, like, there was kind of a dip in quality, then Shadowbringers came in and was like, we're fucking things up again, boys. I'm like, yes, this is amazing. I do like A Realm Reborn. However, I did not like the fact there was like 60 some odd missions at the end of the game where I gained no levels and I had to take so long to get the next expansion. But
yeah, they squashed a lot of that.
Yeah, in the update. Yeah, but Final Fantasy XIV is a fantastic game. But Stormbreakers to me is like that weak link that you can't really ignore it because there's some really good moments and then there's like some dungeons that are like, dude, can we get going? We have to get going. It's taking too long.
That's understandable. It's my favorite MMO, like by far anything. One, it just looks good. To me, most MMOs just lack in some like detail. Right. Like to me, WoW looks like garbage, and I'm probably going to die because of saying that. To me, it just looks.
I think everyone who talks about WoW compared to Final Fantasy, I think they'll agree with you, right?
For 15 years ago, WoW looks awesome, right? But just the visual overhaul that they did to me did nothing to the game.
I think the interconnected stories in 14 are fantastic as well. Like almost everyone you meet actually plays a role, which I think is really cool.
My favorite thing is the fact that you can play every class with one character. You don't have to start over to experience something new. You just be like, you know what, today I'm gonna equip a different weapon and just be something completely different. Now, granted, that leaves the tanks, right? That's you have people that just try out tanks when they should be trying out tanks. But other than that, I've spent way too many hours in 14. So
exactly.
And I still haven't even touched Endwalker yet. So
Endwalker's phenomenal. Probably one of my favorite expansions. All right, let's talk about Final Fantasy 15. I also feel like this is underrated. I felt like sometimes people were a little bit too harsh on it. Now, granted, when the game first released, absolutely, I had this initially at a B because when it first released, there were like unresolved plot threads. There was like characters just randomly disappearing out of nowhere. I felt like, you know, they was at one level where you had to like stealth for some reason, which made no fucking sense. There were a lot of distractions in this game. Like you could tell that underneath all of that, this game was really good. Like I really like Noctis. I really like the relationship he has with his friends. I think like he has every right to also be emo, you know? I mean, guys, people were like, why Noctis look so sad? I'm like, well, you would too if your dad died, you know, and your fiance died, and like you pretty much have to like summon a sword that will fucking kill you, you know, if you use it, that type of stuff. I'm pretty sure you'd be kind of sad too because you had to leave your friends, right? I loved both. I love the ending, you know, when you're sitting around around the campfire talking to your buddies for the last time, and I also love the fact that like, you know, you have him and his fiance finally sitting on the throne together, but in a spiritual realm. I'm like, all right, well, I guess he got happy eventually, you know. Love the combat system. I think they had a lot of really good characters, but like I said, upon first release, I would have given this a B, but with the Royal Edition, like my grade bumped it up to an A for me.
So I think I'm actually in the opposite category there. Originally playing it, just having characters like when dude went blind, right? Yeah, and then old dude was just like, hey, I'm going on a trip with my sister or whatever. But okay, whatever, cool. And then I'm blanking on everyone's name for some reason. The Prompto, when Prompto fell off the train, like to me that made sense that like he fell off and like he's going to rejoin later, right? But playing through the game, I actually really enjoyed the game. The only thing I felt like the levels were just completely random. Like some enemies could be like 20 levels higher than you, and you just absolutely massacre them. But then you would fight something that's 5 levels below you and just 2-shot you. Flan, like if you didn't fight the weakness of the enemy, like some of them would just obliterate you. But anyways, like playing the game organically and doing all the like side hunts and camping, and I didn't really like how they did the magic too much. Like crafting the magic was just a little weird to me. But the magic had really cool effects, right? The fact that it was like would like freeze everything, or like everything would catch on fire. Like it was impactful enough to I guess I could give it a pass on that. But but finding out that there was DLC that filled in those spots kind of like hurt my initial thought of it. I'm like, dang it! Like I should have noticed that they just made a hole there. Like it was
they did not give you a full content game upon first release. Now you could play it start to finish, but there was like obvious things that were missing. Like Ignis going blind was like, wait, like are we gonna talk about how he went blind? Like you just randomly show up, you guys fight a freak, and they show up and they're trying to help you. And you're like, Ignis, why do you not have eyes? Like what happened here, man?
So it's like I think it's kind of the opposite. I probably would have given it maybe even an S, but probably an A. And then like understanding like how they actually rolled it out, which I will say they marketed the crap out of the game like phenomenally. They're like 5-part anime that they did on YouTube. The Kingsglaive movie was phenomenal. I loved that movie. It hyped me so I actually waited to watch it the night before release. Got so hyped I couldn't go to bed. So I just laid awake in my bed going, I'm waiting for the game to so at like 2 o'clock in the morning I started downloading.
Where's my Final Fantasy, Dad?
But yeah, I really like the combat. A lot of I wish the summons were a bit more controllable. Just the fact that like you only got to see them if you were doing bad.
It was kind of random.
But I really thought the summons were really cool when you fought them, or when they showed up. It was more of like a larger than life type thing. So
where are we putting it?
I would give it an A.
There we go. That's the second A next to 5.
Yeah.
Okay, Crisis Core. So, even with the remastered version with Reunion, I really feel like Crisis Core, it really showed how like dated the game was, like especially when like he's just running from corridor to corridor. It was really cool that they gave Zack an entire fleshed out backstory. We got to see more of Sephiroth and Cloud and Genesis and all like the soldier program. I like that. I was never really too big of a fan of the roulette system. I think both of us weren't. I have this as an A just because of like how it constantly drives you along. Like it reminds you that it's a PSP game.
Yeah. So if this was if they would have designed this for a main console, it probably would be an A. Because Zack's story is one of my favorite stories.
Right.
Just the way that they played it throughout that game, like one of the very few games that I've like shed a tear at the end, right? Even though I knew it was going to happen, right?
I knew he was dead.
It's impact. Yeah, that one was a rough ride. I really liked, Genova and Sephiroth and Jill.
Yeah.
And, the story of the sword, right? One of the most iconic swords in all gaming, and kind of see where it comes from. So yeah, if it was a full title, like it maybe even like pushed into S+, but I feel like A.
I think A is like solid.
I don't know. Yeah.
Dirge of Cerberus. Well, it's going into the Dirge category. Final Fantasy, probably its worst spinoff ever. Honestly, in my opinion, I don't really have too much to say about this. Like, I just remember picking this game up because of how cool fucking Vincent Valentine was, how he looked, and then playing it and going, yeah, so they didn't really try much. It felt like Devil May Cry 2 or Gungrave, just like a mindless shooter, and it just was not fun to me, like at all.
Well, okay,
very drab.
Right. Well, I mean, I enjoyed it for what it was. Like, I didn't expect there to be a crazy story.
You give almost every Final Fantasy game.
It is an unfortunate trait of mine, but I knew it was a third-person shooter, right? Like going in, so it was just I get to play as Vincent, right? I get to experiment with with him and his arsenal, and I get to see more story of him. And it was kind of random to like the characters that just show up and drop out, and
it's going to Dirge.
No, I'm not going to talk you out of Dirge. Like comparatively speaking, I do feel like this is not of the quality that the other game should be. This is a below quality game compared to all the other Final Fantasies.
Yeah,
with the exception of After Years, there should probably be another category.
No, there'd be another tier. It would be like there would be dirt tier, and then below that would be After Years. That game, man, that was a cash grab. Yeah. Final Fantasy VII Remake. I give that an S. I don't want to give it an S plus just yet. I don't know why. I that game preyed off your nostalgia, and it's only Midgar, but it's still fantastic. I just think that as much as I love that game, I don't know what's stopping me from giving an S plus. Like I want to so bad.
It doesn't as of right now. It doesn't solidify my. I'm not gonna say my concerns, but it's just like I've not seen enough of what they're doing with the story. Like the ending of that game created so many more questions than it answered.
That's a good point. I'm hoping that like so maybe when the entire series releases, like the whole Final Fantasy VII series, we'll go back and re-rate it. But like right now, like the questions that it raises may become incredibly convoluted, knowing Final Fantasy storytelling, knowing its past. So it may become probably a hot fucking mess. when Barrett's like, it's the harbinger of fate. I'm like, what in the Kingdom Hearts is this? I mean, come on now. Sora, where is he? Just bring his fucking shoes out, man.
I was waiting for Genie to pop out.
Yeah,
and start zapping people.
The next spinoff we're talking about is Final Fantasy Dissidia. I always thought these were really fun, but they kind of lacked depth. But they were a nice little side story. I'd give it a C. I don't think there's not much to like brag about or talk about that. I'm just gonna pop it into a C category.
I never played the stuff that came to the what is it?
It was on PSP. It was on the Vita. Or whatever. Yeah, it was on the Vita. It was an arcade.
I played the original version.
Yeah,
I played that. It was solid.
Yeah, it was solid. Not too spectacular.
It was cool to see the characters, in a different realm, if you would.
Final Fantasy Type 0. I played it, and I understood why people didn't like it. I think it's the first mature-rated Final Fantasy game. I don't know why it had to be made. I'm gonna be dead honest. But the game wasn't awful to me. I thought it was serviceable. The combat system was serviceable. I don't remember any characters in that game. I'm not gonna lie to you. not a damn one. But I remember
there's two.
Yeah. But I remember this. I liked it more than 13 too, so we're put in the C category.
Yeah, I never beat it. I did play quite a bit of it I didn't play the original version. I think it was on the PSP or something.
Yep.
And then when it came out on the Xbox One, I played it and I was like it's cool. I don't like games that put time limit on things, right? Where you have to be like
100%.
Only have so many. You have so many allotments, and you have to choose what to do. So like the class system that they did, I didn't really care for, but having that many characters and kind of just experimenting, it was a decent ride. Yeah.
Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. We'll do that one first because I know where I'm putting Final Fantasy Tactics. So Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, I remember playing this game and then being like, oh, it's part of the Evil East series with Final Fantasy XII. Really, really good game. I didn't have the narrative impact that Final Fantasy Tactics had, but it did have really good combat, good strategy, really good game. I don't think you can get it anywhere right now. I don't think it's available anywhere. But I had this game when I first played it, like in an A category, like just super solid. There's like really no flaw to the game.
It was one of the few Game Boy games where I put like over. There was like 2 Pokemon games, and then this game I put like almost 200 hours into.
Are you convinced me it's an S? Is that what you're doing?
This might be my nostalgia. Like it was one of my favorite Game Boy games, of all time.
We'll plop it into an S because, like, I know that Final Fantasy Tactics Advance is. A lot of people I know who've talked about the game talk about it glowingly, and they're kind of shocked that like you just can't find it anywhere. I don't think you can find it anywhere else. And it had like a really colorful art style. It had nice throwbacks and Balthiers in it, and that's good.
Yeah. So. My thing is, it's basically Final Fantasy Tactics, just like happy.
Yeah, just happy.
It's happy.
Next up, Final Fantasy Tactics. This is S+ for me. This is my favorite Final Fantasy game in the entire series. Like, that's probably blasphemy for someone, but when I remember the first game had like localization issues, and you could like just completely break the game. War of the Lions came out on the PSP or the PS Vita, and was fucking just. Really, really hit home how like grounded the story was, how it featured a number of like likable, lovable characters. It was honestly, in my opinion, it's probably the most mature Final Fantasy. like without trying. Dark, like I said, great characters, great combat. I'm a huge fan of this game. I have to find this memory card, but I have like 2 separate saves, one with 200 hours, one with 350. Like, I played the absolute shit out of this game. I loved it. Passion.
I have fond memories of this game because this was later on when this was like right before I got a PlayStation 2, but it was it the Final Fantasy anthology? There was one game that had multiple Final Fantasies on it.
I think what did the anthology have? I thought it had like 4 and 6.
1 and 2 or something. I don't know. Anyways, I had Tactics. I want to say it was Tactics in another game, but I might be completely wrong on that. But I know I was playing Final Fantasy Tactics because it was the first time that I lost one of my favorite characters, and I was super pissed off that he actually died, and I was like, no. But
I love the job system in that game. Oh my god, getting the mime or mimic is so fucking hard.
My PlayStation broke. The little ball bearing in the middle, the springy thing didn't work. So if you put the disc on and close it, the disc would spin off of it and rattle. So I played with that game duct taped to my PlayStation. Like, that was one of the last games that I played on. I still have the disc, and it's the front of the disc is all types of ripped because of the tape that came off of on it, ripped the vinyl stuff off of it.
I love it.
It was a great game.
Yes. Last 2 on the list.
You could throw rocks too.
You could throw rocks at people and at each other to gain levels and dash into them. That's what I did. I used to take little goblins and just dash into them and then heal them with my chemist. And then I kept doing that. I was like, yes. Don't worry about dying. We'll revive you. You're getting back up. World of Final Fantasy. So, I actually like this game. It's a lot of fun. It has all these nice little Easter eggs of all the characters and stuff like that. Has a surprisingly dark story at times where I was like, where did this twist come from? Where are we going here? I thought this was going to be a Kingdom Hearts-esque light story. I was like, nah, bro, this gets a little bit too deep at times. I like the combat system. I gave this a B. This is in my B tier.
I have played it. I do have the Maxima edition. I've played it a bit. I don't know too much of the story. The one thing that's ingrained in my mind is he's making coffee at the coffee shop or whatever, and Carbuncle's talking to him, and I'm like, what the heck is going on here? I did like the Pokemon-esque system where you capture, because I feel like Final Fantasy is really defined by the monsters, the very unique and reoccurring monsters, obviously characters as well, but so the fact that you get to actually play with the monsters, I think is
very cool.
You get to wear them on your head and whatnot. So
the last game on the list, Strangers of Paradise. So I personally at first did not like this game, right? I'm a huge fan of Neo though, so I was like, all right, combat's pretty fun. Jack is a little bit too much about chaos, right? A little too angsty, a little too angry. But as in typical JRPG fashion, I stuck with the game, got to the end and was like, that's good shit right there. That's a good twist. I think I had it at a C just because of the combat alone. And then I bumped it to a B for me. Where do you have Strangers of Paradise?
That's a tough one. So yeah, and it was weird because they did the teaser trailer, the chaos, right? And then everyone made fun of the chaos. And then you're like, there's no way that for when they didn't defend it or anything, they were just like, yeah, it is what it is. And then you start playing the game and literally you talk to townspeople and they're like, thank you for killing chaos. And it's literally what it I don't know if they purposely leaned more into it. They were just like, we got to say chaos more just to.
It is so good. It is so good.
To make people think it's such a meme, but then the ending, the way they flip that ending, I was like, hold.
Yes, let's go. Maybe it's because they lulled you into that false sense of security. You're like, this is gonna be a weird ending, and then it was like, oh shit, I'm the bad guy. Let's get it. That was awesome.
Yeah, loved dude, it was. I actually really thought it was a solid combat. It was. I wouldn't say definitely not as refined as all the other Souls-like games out there, but
no, God no.
There was several classes I clicked with and just had fun with.
Yes. So that is our
I could
tier
go with
list.
B. Yeah, I'll go.
My goodness, feels like a podcast episode, but who cares? We're gonna drop it as a normal thing. So, in our S plus tier, Final Fantasy VI, 7, 9, and Tactics. In the S tier, 4, 8, 12, 14, 7 Remake and Tactics Advance. In A, Final Fantasy V, 15, and Crisis Core. That'll probably be a little contentious. I know people love Crisis Core. B is Final Fantasy II, Final Fantasy X, 11, World of Final Fantasy and Stranger's Paradise. In the C tier, it is Final Fantasy, was it 3? Yeah, Final Fantasy 3. Final Fantasy X-2, Final Fantasy 13. That one's going to be contentious. I had it to B, remember that. I dropped it to a C because of Brett. Dissidia and Type 0. And then in D, it is 13.2 and 13.3. And of course, Dirge of Cerberus is its own category of its own. So as a reminder, hey, look, this is just our opinion, right? But this is the ultimate tier list, honestly. If we're being honest with ourselves, if your top 4 does not include 6, 7, 9, and Tactics, don't talk to me. Now you can throw in 8 if you want. You can throw in 12. You can throw in Final Fantasy VII Remake if you want. If you throw Final Fantasy 15 out there, I'm kind of confused. Like at first, like, did you know they didn't complete the game? If you put 10 in your S plus tier, which I'm going to see a lot of people do, you're wrong. No, you're dead wrong. But we gave it B for Blitzball. We should get credit for that. Like that was who doesn't love Blitzball? So that's gonna do it for this our tier ranking, and then we're gonna have that giveaway. The details for that are gonna be in the description of the video. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and of course, if you want to bash us for our tier list and you want to tell us what we were really wrong at, and if you love 13.2, 13.3, listen, I guess, but we will probably go back and revisit, set the 7 remakes when they do come out, and I also think that we'll have a lot of info. We'll probably do like a co-review when we get through 16. Because I'm going to have a lot of thoughts on it. I'm really excited for that game. I think everyone should be too. I know a lot of people are upset that it's a straight combat system type game. It's just straight action. But listen, who knows? Like it's also a mature Final Fantasy 16 game. There's going to be nudity, right? A little bit of sexual content in it. Lots of blood. Kind of Games of Thrones-ish, I guess, is the best way. Hopefully it doesn't turn out like Forspoken, right? Which would be the biggest downer of all. And hopefully by the time this video comes out, because this will be dropping on Tuesday, June 13th, we will have the Final Fantasy XVI demo, which should be on the 11th when the Final Fantasy Showcase comes out. And then I'm going to play that and make a video for it. And I know Brad's probably not going to play because he doesn't want to spoil anything for himself. Is that it? You're just going to nah, I'm not doing it?
That is correct.
But it transfers your save over.
If it was earlier, I probably would play it, but because it's so soon,
it's like 2 weeks away. Yeah, it's a bit risque, right? You'd be upset just sitting there like shaking, like, where is it?
I take that back because it comes out on my wife's birthday, so
yeah,
I might play that.
Might get a tease in because I'm going to be very far ahead of him when we get this game.
Yeah.
So we want to thank everyone for watching. We will talk to you next time. Have a good one, everyone.